Hello, everybody. Fiber Spider back again with the live stream. How are all of you doing? I do see a couple of people already in the house. How are all of you? It's going to be a low-key kind of evening today. Just a little bit, little chit chat. This, that, the other. And I did put out the invite to a couple of people. Hopefully, they show up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So far, I don't have any guests present at the moment, but you never know. It could happen. So, how is everybody doing? Hello, Cindy and Christy and Nana. And I think I saw Panda, and we've got Pausalutely. And oh, I just got a text from Matt, the Rock and Crochet, says he's on the way home. Woohoo! Um, yes, Panda is definitely here, and Christy and Roseanne and CGFL, hello from Sydney, and Carmen and Lynn. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so today it's going to be kind of a low-key kind of day. And Rudy Fern, hello, and Becky. Rebecca, is Rebecca okay? I'm perhaps out of the loop. And Georgia, hello. And Georgia, I have seen your requests in the comments. You could potentially do the beginning of the waffle hat and just keep increasing at intervals. I'm probably not going to do a tutorial on that. Christy, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So very sweet. Super chats or super thanks or all that good stuff. It's totally appreciated and welcome. It's not expected, but it is abundantly welcome. Let me just scroll back and there we go. Let me scroll up. Hello. Enid, my strawberry friend. Hello. And Karen. Um, Yeah, I've got a million and one projects going on, and I'm going to try. The reason why I'm disinclined, Georgia, from doing a circular blanket in the waffle texture, as much as I love the waffle, don't get me wrong. The reason why I'm disinclined is because we are approaching the warmer weather, and that is heavy and thick and squishy, and it's got an awesome sauce texture. But since we're approaching the warmer season, I'm trying to do more light and lacy things. So, totally a valid request, but I think I'm going to pass on that for now. But you could, like I said, you could conceivably keep working increases at regular intervals for a circular shaped waffle blanket. So you could do that. What I would recommend, though, is to have it such that the number of increase points would be at least 8, preferably 10, because then it would maintain a circular shape better longer. If you only did 6 increase points, you're going to end up with a hexagon. Okay, if you did 8 increase points, you're going to end up with an octagon eventually. 10, a decagon, is much more circular than the previous shapes. So the more increase points that you have, the better. And the same thing applies with any sort of motif type shape where it is not a square. The more points you have, the more roundish it is. So that being said, hello, Christy and Aggie. Hello, 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 everybody. Hope all of you are doing really well. Actually, right now, I'm working on something. Matt, the Rockin' Crocheter, I managed to scoot onto a live stream of his just last night. I was just dropping in and saying hello, and they had mentioned collecting for veterans. And I'm like, it has been a bit of a hot minute since I did any sort of charity work. And I thought, you know what, I could work on something and, I could do my part. So I decided to pick up a skein of yarn and I decided to get started. Why not? And the stitch that I'm doing, It's super simple. It's one of my favorites. It is the granny stitch. And I can do this while, Panda, no, you're the best. I'm not the best. You're the best, Panda. Um, I figure I could do this while doing the live stream, because it really doesn't take that much of my focus. So I think I can do both at the same time. And I got my handy dandy yarn feeder. And so this is really, really awesome colorway. This is Lion Brand's Mandala in the bonus bundles. And so it is 1,181 yards. It's a weight of 3, and it is the colorway of Chewy, as in Chewbacca, I'm assuming. And I had this, so I figured this should do. I believe the measurements are 40 by 40 for a lap Afghan, a lapgan. So I thought this should be enough for that. And, it's easy enough. Oh, Russ, so you're alive, but still sick. I am so sorry that you are not feeling well. And I'm sorry that we miscommunicated last night because no, I was awake the whole evening. I thought you went to bed because I know that you weren't feeling well and I didn't want to disturb you. But I'm glad you're here. If you want to join in, you're more than welcome. No pressure. Um, it's going to be a low key kind of stream here. I did put out some invites to Russ, of course, and Michael at MDL, and Matt the Rock and Crocheter, and my good friend Buddy. He hasn't been on one of my live streams yet, I don't think, but I would love to have him here. You slept 12 hours. Wow, I wish I could have that much of a unimpeded amount of rest. Who's he, what's it? Oh, I also invited the Crochet Witch and Rose Likes Crochet. I didn't mention it prior. I just thought, I'll just put it out there, send them the link, and hopefully we'll see what happens. We have a troll. Carson the Yarn Troll. Oh, Yarn Trolls are okay. Yarn Trolls are totally fine. It's the other trolls. No thanks. Yeah, so I figure I'll just work on this. And since it's a weight of 3, I'm using a 5mm size H crochet hook. And I thought I could work on this while chit-chatting with all of you fabulous people. What are you working on tonight? What are you working on? I have a million fingers and a million pies and so on and so forth, as you already probably know. I never have just one or two whips going on. It's okay, Russ, if you're not going to do a live tonight. If you need to rest, you rest. You gotta do you, boo. You gotta take care of yourself. I always have tons and tons of works in progress going on. It's difficult for me to finish them, albeit, but I make an effort. And just last night, early this morning, depends on how you look at it, I finished another little project. Not going to do a tutorial on it because it's a paid pattern project, but I think it's absolutely fabulous and I love it. And so I'm going to show you those in just a bit. Carrie working on a mug rug, my first time doing mosaic crochet. Cool. It's good to do small projects with new techniques because that way it's not overwhelming. Like you're not trying to do a new technique with like a queen size blanket and then you have a freak out. Smart move. Let's see. And Nana Michelle, woven filet blanket. Oh, it's a fun one, isn't it? And let's see. Lene working on fancy granny squares, dishcloths, and bath scrubbies. Cool. From Perth, hello, Daniel. And I don't suck at life, Janice. Yes, remember troll dolls that were popular when people Craig's age, we're young. What are you implying? Yes, I had troll dolls. They were really cool. You should make an amigurumi troll doll with pom-pom for hair. That could work, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't be as cute, but mosaic is fun, Ginger, yeah. Working on a baby blanket called the tiramisu baby blanket. Ooh, that sounds yummy. I guess Russ is going naughty blinkums. Good night, Russ, if you're leaving. Sorry, feel better. Yes, Carrie, good to start small. Think Carson says, like Branch from the movie Trolls. I never saw the movie. I know of the movie, but I never saw it. Tunisian Bahamas shawl. That sounds lovely. Christmas tree skirt. I don't suck at life. You're not old. If I'm old, you're old, and vice versa. If you're not old, then I'm not old, so it's okay. Ooh, Amanda making a cardigan. Have fun. Socks. Craig, which pattern is the blanket you gave Matt and Rebecca? It was a very recent tutorial that I did within the past couple of weeks of a lacy chevron. And the one in the thumbnail is the one that I had sent them. It took a bit more to finish the project after the video, but after I finished it, I sent it right off. And they were gushing last night. It was really sweet. It was gratifying. It was very nice of them to do that. Okay, the lots and lots and lots of messages. My goodness. The Bavarian Stitch, Linda. Yeah, it's the Bavarian Stitch. It is gorgeous, especially if done with a cool colorway. The only gripe, if any, that I have with the Bavarian Stitch, like any and all textured stitches, it's a yarn eater. That's the only issue I have. Oh, Carson, I'm sorry. Yeah, shingles does not sound like fun. Unless if you're a roof, shingles sound great. But if you're not a roof, shingles, I understand. Christina says, what books am I reading? Actually, I just recently finished reading, trying to get it out. I got a box set, actually. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Complete Collection by Douglas Adams. Oh, we have a guest here. Hang on. Ah! I'm working on it. There we go. Hi.
Hey.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome. I was just saying that I started, well, I reread the first book of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've read it a couple of times, but getting through all 5 books, it takes a while. Right now, I'm on the second book, which is
Lord.
The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. And I'm about 60 pages in. But yeah, and then there's 3 more after that. They call it a trilogy in 5 books. He loves being weird like that. And I thought it might be nice to have a bit of a more light-hearted jaunt after reading through. It was the Books of Blood by Clive Barker. I needed something a bit more light, a bit more carefree.
Totally understandable.
Hello,
Like, I don't
Nana.
read a lot though, so when you or Panda mention all these books, I'm like, I'm lost.
Well, you could always. There's no time like the present. You could always start. Hello, Deanna.
But speaking of blankets, though,
Yes.
If people know me, they know that I always sit here. I always have a blanket on me.
Yes, you do.
Well, just for everybody in the audience, I got a blanket in my rotation now.
Oh, Pachua, you're going to make me blush. You're going to make me blush. You're making me verklempt. Michael, you and the chat discuss amongst yourselves. You're making me verklempt. Oi, don't be a mashugana. This is not the make Craig
Yeah,
blush
we love
kind
this
of stream.
blanket. Like, oh my
I'm
gosh,
glad
man.
you like it. You know, I mean, now that is, it's kind of a yarn hog, but not really, because it's like you're making two blankets at the same time.
Because it's reversible.
Yes, well, and it's really thick, but I think one of the things that I love about it is that even though it's really thick, it's very drapey.
Yes, that's the thing that was throwing me off is when you said, "Hey, you got mail," and I went to and I'm like, "Okay, I go pick up the box." One, it was light, and I'm like, "Okay," and then we get home and this beautiful blanket, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "I just saw the tutorial on this last week."
Surprise! Well, see, with that one, I had already finished the blanket and then I taught the tutorial. Whereas with the blanket that Matt got, I hadn't finished the blanket, but I shot the tutorial with what I had already made up. So, um, you know, we do what we can. We do what we can.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Sometimes we can do more. Sometimes we do what we can. But no, it's just because the thing is, it's basically two fillet blankets, and fillet blankets don't take up a lot of yarn, you know, because it's just like one big grid. So it doesn't take up a lot of yarn, but you're essentially making two at the same time that are sort of intermixed. Oh, hey, AJ, you can't stay, but wanted to say hi. Well, thank you for joining me. And I don't know if you saw, I'm using my yarn feeder thing. I love these. I had gotten my mom one of these as well. By the way, there's actually a magnetic thing in here, and it's it spins. It's attached. But I've been using it, and I love it. And thank you. It is getting usage. Thank you, AJ. Yeah, I got my mom one, and she loves it.
see, I wouldn't I want one, but when I see the prices, it's like, So I
It
was
was
at.
like $20.
I know, but I'm a tightwad.
I can't help your personal problems.
So I found those
Hi,
stands that
Crafty
you put on
Goddess.
tables that you put paper towel rolls on.
Yeah, yeah,
Those work just great,
yeah.
and they're weighted bottom, so when you pull it, it ain't going. It's not going nowhere. It's not tipping over.
You know, I mean, there are a million and one hacks, you know, that you can do. Like if you don't have a specific yarn bowl, you know, with the little hook thing, well, you can put your ball of yarn into like any container, get like a clip, you know, like one of those like alligator type clippy thingies, which you probably have right there. Yeah. And then feed the yarn through that. Yeah, you could totally do that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
When I
Hello,
do
sweet
a lot
tea.
massive color work, I use the bigger ones, and I line them across my desk,
Yeah,
and on the floor is the bucket of the colors feeding through so they don't get tangled.
yeah, whatever works. You know, I mean, I look at it this way. For me, it's what I do every day, you know, ad infinitum. So I look at it as a tool, an investment. What I Oh, Ella, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Super sticker. Thank you. So
Yay!
sweet. Always appreciated. Thank you. Um, like with tools, I don't mind, you know, going big because if it's something that I can use, you know, over and over and over and over again, like my crochet hooks, to me, that's an investment. The
Yes.
yarn, the yarn, I go on the cheap, you know, because with the yarn, I mean, I use so much that there's no way that I could get fancy she frou frou,
Exactly. I
you
mean,
know,
like if I wanted to do a blanket in some of these bougie yarns, I mean, you already know, like for crochet, you're using at least 5 or 6. Well, I'm using 10 minimum, and I'm like, I don't have the funds to spend $40 per skein.
mhm.
That's
Unless
and no,
unless if you know that after you're done making it that you can get a buyer, you know, and that's always a gamble, you know. Scott G, hello. How you doing?
And my eyes are messing with me. I can't even read this chat today.
So, who's what skis? Like with tools, I don't mind, because I figure they'll get their, I'll get my money's worth out of them.
Mm.
But it's like with the yarn, I go in the cheap also, because if I do some sort of a tutorial work, all right, I'm using this fabulous bougie yarn, Crafty Goddess. Thank you. Thank you so very much for the super sticker. Thank you. You guys are the bestest. Seriously. Um, and like if I use some sort of bougie yarn, and then if people want to duplicate the results for themselves, then they're going to be sort of stuck, you know. But that's why I like to go in the cheap, because it's like, you know what, you can make something fabulous with something, with inexpensive materials. That's what I always try to get across.
Exactly. That's why like 99% of my item makes have been big twist because, well, granted, it was easy to get then,
Mm-hmm.
not so much now, but still, it's a value yarn.
Right.
You don't need to go out and buy, bougie yarn and
Exactly.
to be able to create. And plus, I always take into account whatever I make. You may not make it in the exact same weight of yarn that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, the patterns are adjustable for that as well. They take all that into account.
Right. And that's why I always, like, at the beginning of, like, when I do a stitch tutorial, I say make a swatch first. Because
Yes.
if even if we're using the same yarn and the same hook and the same weight and everything, we also have another guest.
Hey, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
What's going on,
Because everybody's
guys?
gauge is different. We were just talking about like swatching and gauge and so forth. Like if it's a blanket, it's not as crucial, but like if you're doing like any wearable item,
Yeah.
um,
That's where it kind of
you've got to follow
comes in play.
gauge. And everybody's different. We could use the same hook, the same yarn, and the same stitch, but end up with two very different size things because I stitch, tightly and you stitch loosely or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good to swatch things. So how are you doing, Matt? How was work
Good.
today?
We're busy. So
Busy.
I was a busy little guy at work.
We hail,
In
hail,
front
the
of the,
gang's
in
all
front of
here.
the computer
Um,
all day long.
I'm sorry. Yeah, unfortunately, Russ is not going to be joining us. He is not feeling well. I think
It
he went naughty blinkums.
is he having he's having surgery next week, isn't he? Or is it the week
I
after?
know it's going to be relatively soon.
I thought it was
I
supposed
try
to
not
be on
to
Monday.
press too much for information because I figure if he wants me to know, he'll tell me. And he's
Yeah.
he's going through it enough as it is. Um, and so, uh, I don't want to be a scutch or a nudge. If anything, I'll nudge him about the fact that he buys more yarn than he uses. I'll scutch him on that. You know, I'll get on his
I
case
think we're
about
kind
that.
of all guilty of that in one way or another.
Yeah, well, and I was telling everybody just earlier that I sort of said hello on your stream last night, and so I thought that it would be nice for me to start working on something. Now, are you taking the donations or somebody else taking the donations? Give us the lowdown, Matt, because for those of you that didn't see what I saw last night, give us the lowdown on the charity that you're doing for veterans. Please
Okay,
educate us.
it's for the it goes the donations are going to the VA, and it's called Happy Hats, and it's Janet Egan. There's a couple. There's Jessica SMC. There's, I want to say it's John at Whips. It's
You
Whips,
said hooks, whips,
Chains,
and
and
chains.
Hooks.
Hooks, whips, and
Yeah,
chains, John C.
Hooks, Whips, and Chains. There's a couple of other people like in that group that are kind of getting the word out for it. Um, I've got the contact information. I can give the contact information out to anybody who wants it. Send me an email. It's for the veterans, and it's hats, scarves, lap blankets, or lapgans,
I'm working on one right now.
shawls, like pretty much anything. It's for the homeless veterans and their families. And Janet Egan has started doing this, and she's been doing it for a number of years. And the goal is 4,000 hats, plus other makes and stuff. And then I've got her contact information. So when you send it, you can send it directly to her. And it's the end of it is we need them by December is when the last collection is.
So
we've
quite a
got
ways
quite a
away.
few months.
We can totally do that. Well, you said 4,000 hats.
Yeah.
We can do that.
I mean, I was thinking, look at what the community did in the Boggy Creek thing.
Mhm.
I mean, for the kids,
Or even the bag a day animal auction.
for the animals. And this is going to the veterans, so it's really it's really special, I think.
Hello, Lacey.
So if anybody needs the information, I'm going to be yelling it from the rooftops on all of my lives. If anybody needs the information for it, go
Could
ahead.
you
and
yodel
email
it?
me, and we can
Yodel it.
Huh?
Could you yodel it?
No, I don't yodel.
He'll break out.
Yodeling?
He can break out his guitar.
That's about as much as it gets.
Well, that's about as much as it gets for me.
But I do the sound of music thing.
What about the Ricola? How about that? Could you do the Ricola?
I do the the swooshing around on the side of the hill.
Well, I keep thinking of the Griswold's European Vacation, where they're all fantasizing what Europe is going to be like in the plane ride.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because the father thinks it's going to be like The Sound of Music. The daughter is having a nightmare because she thinks she's going to get fat with all the food. The son thinks that it's going to be like one great frisky nightclub scene. And the wife is thinking that, she's going to steal Prince Charles, I think it was at the time. Was it Prince Charles?
It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
It was Lady Di's
It's been
husband.
a long time since I saw that one too. Christmas Vacation, it's yearly.
Oh, you mean Princess Di's husband? Yeah, at that time. Yeah, it was Charles.
But yeah, we can totally do 4,000 hats. I mean, I'm not working on a hat right now. I'm working on a blankie. But you did say for lap blankets, you said the dimensions were 40 by 40. Yes.
Correct. 40 by 40 is the dimensions that I got.
Awesome.
So it's
I'm going simple.
a little bit smaller than like one of the Boggy Creek blankets.
I'm going simple because I wanted to work on it while we were doing our chat tonight. It is the Mandala bonus bundle in the colorway of Chewy. Nice and neutral, really simple, going to work up fast. So you were saying it's not just for the veterans, but also for their families, you said?
Yeah, it goes to the veterans and their families. I mean, it's for the homeless. I think I believe it goes to the homeless veterans first, and then it goes to the veterans and their families.
Great. Absolutely fabulous. Because that way it's not like, for instance, if it was, just things for just, like just men, then, the slant would be perhaps a little bit different, like maybe with the colors or something like that. But if it's like, a variety of ages and genders, it's like, okay, then it gives us a little bit more leeway. I'm just trying to iron out the details. That's all.
Because
and I know that there are plenty of female veterans out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that percentage-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And we've made so far. We've made 15 hats.
Great.
So at like every 20, we're gonna send them to Jeanette. So we've got 5 more. We've got 5 more to make. We're making them all sorts of colors.
Cool.
Oh wow.
I'm doing like more of the men's and the adult ones, and Rebecca's doing like the kids, more the kid like teenagers and kids hats. So
Yeah.
it's
Also,
been,
for any of you that have an Addy, like one of those knitting machines, those are great. If you need to crank stuff out in a hurry, those are fabulous because you
yeah,
could make
and
a hat
I've cranked
from
out
start to finish. Pardon?
11 hats in 2 days.
Yeah. From start to finish, you can make a hat in like 15 minutes,
Yeah, with
depending
each one
upon
you
the
want to
styling.
Yeah, it works well. And kind of a neat thing, which I was horsing around with some ideas as I was like playing around with my Centro.
Hmm.
This is Hirschner's blanket or Afghan. I think it's that's Hirschner's Afghan yarn. And what I did was I was running it through my Centro, but I was holding, since it's a 2 weight, I was holding
Yeah.
2 together.
Good
So it
show.
makes it just makes like a random.
It's sort of like a heather of sorts. Yeah. You know what?
But it
There's a
even
yarn. It was by Loops and Threads in Michaels. It was a weight of 1, I think. Yeah. It was super duper thin, but I would hold 2 strands of that together in my Addy machine, and it created like almost the exact same look as what you're talking about. And you can get some really cool organic looking colorways, sort of like a heather or a tweed ish, if you will.
yeah, because
Um,
you like this on one side has these like, I don't know how it made the stripes, but it has like these organic stripes on it, and then
you know
if
what
you
I found?
reverse it,
It depends on
it
how
doesn't
you're holding the yarn.
have the stripes.
I've noticed that too. It depends on how you hold the yarn as it's feeding through. Like, because you can hold the 2 strands a little bit separately, like in one hand, but
And
separately. And
you
yeah,
can
see, you know.
yeah, I finally caught on, after a couple.
Yeah, you can kind of manipulate how the yarn shows up.
But yeah, it works out. It works up really good, and those are 100% acrylic, and they're nice and soft. So, and
Another thing that you can
I'm not
do.
sure if they want like acrylic, wool, cotton. I have to
I
find
would
out.
I would say probably acrylic because it's the easiest to care for.
It's easiest to take care of.
And also, if you
Yes.
have any allergies, acrylic won't be a problem.
Yes.
Now, what you could do with your Centro, okay, so that hat that you just showed, that was double thick, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
You
half
could.
of it was like pushed into the other half, right?
Yeah. It was.
Okay, here's what you can do. Technically, you can make with that sort of closed sausage that you made, you could make that into a transformable hat / cowl. Yes. So what you do is if you put, like one half
Oh.
inside of it, yes, it's a hat. But if you take it out and it's like a sausage, okay, on one end, you sew on a button. On the other end, you create a chain loop. So then you could wear it around your neck as a cowl by putting the loop around the button. Then when you want it to be a hat, you can put that inside of
And
itself and then the button will be
inside.
on the top.
That makes sense. I didn't think of that.
Look at you thinking outside the. I was going to say
Outside
something,
the
but
Centro.
That's what I do. But no, that's what I do. I am on my own wavelength. But yeah, I've made those years ago as a way of maximizing what you can get out of a single piece. I love things that can transform. Although I was never really into Transformers, even when they were the hot ticket item when I was a kid, it was just like, okay, it's a robot. Now it's a car. I'm not interested in either. Great.
So it was. I mean, I know I want to do the idea that we talked about the blanket as making the tube and then like closing off either end and then like sewing the tubes together to make I think it would make a nice warm blanket.
Actually, there's something else similar but different. What you can do is if you take just a short length of tube, cinch both ends.
Janet, sorry. Janet is actually in the chat.
Hello.
And it's Janet Egan is the one that we're doing. That's who we're doing for the connection for the veterans for the happy
Awesome.
hat.
So what you can do is just take like a short length of tubage that you make with your centro, cinch both sides, like with a cinching, like put the yarn through all those and cinch it close. Because what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know because I don't play with that stuff.
You're cinching it closed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though. So you cinch both sides closed, and then you flatten it down like a donut. Okay, like drawstring. That's the word. Drawstring. Sort of like a drawstring on both sides, and then you flatten it down so you've got sort of like the little nub of the closure on the top and at the bottom, and you end up with basically a circle. Okay, a flat disc that's thick, it's squishy. You could stuff it, although it's not necessary. So you end up, yes, Crafty Goddess drawstring. So basically you have it's like a thick pancake, if you will, with a little cinch on the top and a cinch on the bottom. Then you take that disc and you get a whole bunch of other ones and you sew them together like it's like a motif piece. So you sew them all together like it's a hexagon, okay, thereabouts. And you end up with like this really thick, squishy, warm AF blanket. So basically you're creating motifs out of these like squished pancake donut things.
But if you're really wanting a warm blanket, you could also, with your tubes, line them with that quilting fabric. The batting? The batting, yes.
The batting?
Ooh, man, that would be really warm.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot you can do. Yeah, it's like a donut blanket, Mr. Carson. Yes. And I think I posted a Facebook picture of it like years ago, back when I was working with the Addy. Hello, Dill. How are you?
Hey, hi, all you wonderful. Hey, Ola Joe and everybody. Hi, Chris.
So, it's just another idea / thought of, things that you can do with the Addy, and yes, you can also do flat panels, something I've never done with the Addy. I've never worked flat panels. I know you can.
Worked with flat panels on my Centro either. I haven't. I know it'll do it, but I've never messed with it. Because they say, in the little pamphlet thing, make a blanket with the panels and all of that.
So, I mean, there's a lot you can do. I mean, also, I've seen people take mini hanks of like sock yarn and create little hexagons that you can then stuff, and it creates sort of like a quilted blanket look, but it's all these tiny little hexagons that are hollow, and it's like a little hot pocket, and they stuff it with polyfill, and then they seam it closed, and I'm sure that thing weighs a ton.
I've seen that done with entrelac a lot too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Which
entrelac by itself
it's
is
already
really
heavy.
exactly.
Now you're doing 2 sides and you're stuffing it.
No, see that's if you are
That's like
in the
weighted.
Arctic. Yes, that is weighted.
Yeah.
That's if you're in the Arctic, you know, and uh, I don't want to mispronounce this. Dakta.
Dot cock.
Yes,
Ricky. We call her
yeah.
Ricky.
The only limit is your imagination, definitely. Ola Joe, hello. You know, just see that's the whole point of what we do. Get creative.
Creative with
You
Yeah.
know,
this.
and if there's a
Because I've
pattern that
got
you really like,
I've got the 48 pin, and then I've got the smaller one.
Spring. Hello, Spring.
Hi,
Hugs to
Spring
you
and
too.
Rachel.
Hi. And Rachel too. Hello, hello, hello. And Nisi, is it?
Freehandly made. That's Nisi.
Hello. So many cool people's here. Hello. And Leslie. So many cool people's here. But yeah, I mean, if there's a stitch that you really, really like, you know, start playing with it, you know, try to manipulate it, and, you know, make it into something new, you know?
Exactly. I
Have
mean,
fun.
the only limitation is your imagination. I mean, I've told you
Well,
ideas
Yeah.
that I had, and then you're
and
like,
your patience level.
well, that too. But I've told you ideas I've had, and you've even given me ideas like, hey, I've never seen this done in Tunisian, you know? So it's like, So, like the dry erase board is like full of ideas and things. And the only limit is your imagination,
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know?
since you brought it up, I'm going to present my newest members of my stitched family. Um, I'm sure that a lot of you guys are familiar with the emotional support chickens. And you know, I mean, I was very, very much late on the bandwagon with those. And so I was looking, you know, I was just like watching YouTube, and I saw somebody did a piece on sort of the origin story of the emotional support chickens. Unfortunately, when California was having their wildfire issue, one of the many times, they had to evacuate. And so that was sort of like the crux of the story. And so I was interested. So I went on to their Etsy store, and I saw that they had, like, you know, the big robust chicken, and then they also had like a crocheted version as well. And then I saw they had a little itty bitty baby chickie. Yes, they had an itty bitty little baby chickie. And so I said, okay, I got to try that. It's sort of non-committal, it's small, I can totally get through that. And so this is the result of my first attempt. And so this, everybody, this is Millicent, Millie for short. And so this was my first attempt. Now this was Pound of Love, Pumpkin Spice, and Pound of Love. I think this was the Elephant Gray, I think.
Yes.
And then the yellow, it might have been a different yarn altogether. I don't remember. But so this was my first attempt. And then my second attempt, I finished just last night. And this is Midge.
Midge.
Yes. Yeah, this is Midge. And I thought at first with the colorway, I was thinking Midge, sorry, I was thinking it was going to look more like a duck. So I was thinking I was going to call him Drake. But no, actually, I'm thinking Midge the Pidge. And so this is actually all Pound of Love. We've got the Oxford Gray, we've got the Olive Green, and then we have the Waterfall Blue and the Elephant Gray. And I think that Midge is absolutely adorable. And so I wanted to give a shout out to the pattern, because I think it's actually not difficult at all, if you are familiar with knitting. Now, that being said, okay, it is one of those patterns you need to pay attention. Okay, it is not some sort of Zen-like mindless experience. No, you have to pay attention.
Was it knit or crochet?
These are knit. And the
Oh,
cool thing about these is that these are knitted flat. That's what attracted me. They are knitted flat, and you then stitch it together. This sort of, actually, it's easier to see on this one. This diamond shape here is, sorry, the diamond shape is one piece, and then the rest of it is one piece, and then it's folded in half, and then you stitch it closed. So it's actually, it's really quite easy as far as you don't need to work with double pointed needles, which I hate with a passion. So it's a flat piece that you then stitch closed, excuse me. And so in that regard, I love it. Um, as far as the different kinds of stitches that you use, you do a lot of what are called short rows. And with short rows, that's what creates the curvature and the shaping involved. And so with short rows, you like knit not to the end, but you knit like halfway, and then you do what's called a wrap and turn, and then you go back. And you do that, and it creates the shaping. So there's that kind of a stitch, which is super easy. A like a KFB, which is knit in the front and back loop, a knit two together for a decrease. They do a slip knit. I do a slip knit pass. It's essentially the same sort of decrease. It's a left leaning decrease. So in that regard, if you can do those various stitches, it's really not hard. You have to pay attention, and the instructions are very thorough. I give them total credit for that. I'm very persnickety about patterns. Let's see. Ricky, about to go to bed, 10 minutes to 1 a.m. here. Don't forget to leave your thumbprint and hugs and stuff. Thank you very much, Ricky. Thank you for joining, and I hope you rest well. So
I'm
it's
just
really,
waiting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, because we talked about that.
Yeah.
Because I love her shop. Like her shop is, it's just chickens, but her shop is really, really cool. And I did email her about the suggestion that you had. I'm still waiting back.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought if anybody could do a Tunisian version, I thought Michael can do a Tunisian version. So I thought he should put it out there and ask her, could you do it? I think it's a valid request,
Oh yeah,
as
for
long as
sure.
you accredit her with the original design idea, I don't see a problem with that, but that's why you always have to ask first.
Oh yes,
Naturally.
exactly.
Got to respect the original creator. That's why with the Lost Souls, like I got permission from her, with the Lost Souls shawl and so forth. Because like I don't need issues any more than anybody else needs issues.
I know, right? And that's the hard part for me is like everything I have to do has to come from here. Just because Tunisian is so much smaller, so if somebody's done something, it gets out there already. Everybody's already seen it, so it's like that's the hard part.
But I think it would be a cool variation, because I mean she has the crochet, she has the knitted. I mean I went with the knitted because I figured it's small scale, I can manage this, and also I like how with tight fabrics, like close fabrics, that knitted has much more flexibility to it. That's why I wanted to do the knit pattern as opposed to the crochet pattern. But yeah, so my two little family members,
They're
they're
so
just
adorable.
they are really cute, and I can understand the appeal. And I didn't use safety eyes. I just used some contrasting yarn. It's safer. It's completely all squish, and also it's one less thing to have to buy.
yeah.
And so they're
And
they're,
and
they're
you got
precious.
little scraps of yarn everywhere.
Because I know when we were talking about the support chickens, and an idea popped in my head, and it went right to a little bit more of a bougie version.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Bougie and complicated.
Is that crocheted?
No, it's
Just a picture.
It's just a
Oh, I
picture
was about
of
to say,
it.
I'm like,
But
are you trying to give me heart failure?
Using like the colors and the I mean, not like whole like craziness, but as far as the
Somebody
colors,
out there could do it.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
pretty
sure.
sure
they
there's
could.
one of these amigurumi folks out there that could do that.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean,
but I'm not one of those amigurumi folks.
I'm not either.
it's like, I'm sorry, but looking at that picture, it's like, yeah, I'm gay, but that bird is flamboyant. Jeez.
That's what Pandas pretty much said.
Yeah,
That's the
Dang.
gayest chicken I've
yeah,
ever
it's
seen.
a pretty.
It's
You know,
the
it's like
cock of the walk.
that rooster, you know, walks into a bar. Hey,
Hey, girl, hey.
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that rooster too.
I can imagine.
But I wanted to do like the colors.
Yeah, the colors would be yes. If you want to do that as a Graphgan, you could.
Yeah.
But people, if you've never done a Graphgan or tapestry, just be prepared. It can be a nightmare with so many color changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I've done plenty of Graphgans. I've done plenty, and I think the most lines I ever had coming into one project was 32.
Hi, Bonnie.
32 lines?
Coming in. And
holy crap.
but see, I enjoy that. A lot of people, it overwhelms people. And you just got to be prepared. You got to have it stationary. It's got to stay in a spot. You can't move it. Oh, I want to go sit over here today and do it. You can't.
Nope.
Because you're just going to tangle everything up.
That would be like trying to do diamond art painting in the back of a Jeep.
Going up a mountain.
Right. You know, off-roading.
On a bumpy road.
You know, it's like, yeah. Well, actually, I think the worst example I saw, it was Steve-O from the show Jackass. He was getting a tattoo while off-roading.
Oh, that's all bad.
Yeah. It was probably one of the worst ideas he ever had.
Like Spring is saying, you know, Graphgans are so much fun. They really are. I prefer to do them, but people don't prefer to see them being done. You know, so I've done a tapestry once. You know, I'm going to be doing them every blue moon, but it's people just don't, because they take forever. The film, you know, when you're, especially if you're recording it, you're looking at 12 plus hours. So you're looking at several videos.
Yeah, Crafty, you know, yeah, Henry Rollins, he did a tattoo. I'm sorry, Matthew.
No, you're fine.
Michael, sorry. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But no, it is challenging to a lot of people if you don't know what you're doing. If you've never done it, that's why I was like, if you want to do it, start small.
Well, it's sort of like, for those of you that are familiar with counted cross stitch, you don't start off with a huge piece. No, you start off small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like when you're doing a really huge piece, it's like, yes, you get this really gorgeous, masterful work that's an heirloom, but it could take you years.
Yeah.
Depending on how much time you have to devote to such a thing, it could take you years.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it really.
And that's why they're heirlooms, because by the time the person making it is done, they're probably dead.
Or just about.
Yes. You know, it's like
that's even with blankets and stuff. Like
the hexi quilts that I'm working on. I've been working on that thing for years now, and it's going to take me years more because it's all hand sewn.
So is it regular fabric quilts, or is it?
Yeah.
Like you have like fat quarters of material, like fabric, and doing the squares.
Okay. So I'm a glutton for punishment. You guys know this about me.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a technique called English paper piecing. Okay. And so you take basically a little hexagon of cardstock, and then you take some fabric and you wrap it around the cardstock and you baste it to the cardstock, and then you take a whole bunch of those and you stitch them together. And then when one hexagon has hexagons stitched around it all around it, you can then take out the basting of that middle one, pop out the cardboard, and you just keep going and going and going. Now, the hexagons that I'm doing.
Oh, heck no.
Oh.
And so this is a finished one where I basted the fabric around, as you can see the basting stitch. And so yeah, it's this itty bitty little guy. And I want to make a full-sized
So you're
quilt.
making a dog blanket with that? Like,
no, this is going to be for me so that I can actually lay out full length, and it will come up to my little chinny chin chin and go over my toesies, and this is going to be a full blanket. And I have thousands of these, and a lot of them are sewn together, but I have a lot more to go.
oh, dang.
We'll be in a nursing home before you finish.
I know.
More than likely. I mean, I have a lot of them where they're already sewn together in these big blocks, and then I just have to like sew the blocks to each other. So, I mean, I have a lot done, but I got a lot more to do.
Well, it's like watching those people who do like the micro crochet.
Mm.
And then, like, I saw this person who did, it took them years to do those little, they're about the same size, granny squares.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sew them together and literally, make a queen size bed. And I'm like, are you just doing that 24/7? You're not sleeping what?
Well, the neat thing about those is that the portability is there. Like some people, what they'll do is actually they will quite literally take a Mentos box with those hexes. They'll take it around in their purse, and then every now and then they'll just take it out and do a little bit of sewing, and then they'll pop it back in their purse or whatever. And so they are very, 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 very portable, when you're working on that stage and phase of the project. Granted, when you have a whole bunch of them already sewn together, it's not portable at all because, you don't want to get it messed up, etc.
Yeah.
But in that piecing phase, it is the most portable thing you could ever work on, even more than like your typical, 4-round granny squares. Little Paco the taco.
Yeah, he was doing his I'm gonna sit here and whine until you pick me up thing.
Like, I thought about doing stuff with in Tunisian with the crochet thread, and then I woke up and realized how stupid that was.
Well, it's not that it's stupid. It's just it's such an investment of time, and if time is your biggest, most valuable commodity, you could use it elsewhere.
Yeah.
I know my Tia used to do like with the thread, the crocheting with like the little thread, and do like the doilies and the stuff for the table and all of that stuff, and it just like it used to fascinate me.
What Spring just said.
I saw that.
Forever.
It's like, yeah, well, that's the thing. I often tease my mom about her height because I stopped growing, but she started shrinking. And so if ever I really want to get her, I tell her to act her age, not her height.
Oh.
The other day, she was at the library and she was ribbing me in front of my coworkers. So I told her to be a good little doorstop and behave herself.
Oh, dang.
Yes, I am terrible, but she gives it as much as she takes it. Like we go back and forth.
See, that's a Hispanic mom. You got a chancla flying at you.
Yeah. In our house, it was
3 states away. It's still flying.
Wasn't the chancla? It was the wooden spoon. Yeah.
What's a chancla?
It's flip flop sandal.
Ah, okay. So we go tete-a-tete quite often, but it's always when somebody else is around. So there's a witness if it gets violent.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
this is something that my Tia did.
Oh wow,
Oh wow.
that is gorgeous. It reminds me of the wedding ring quilts.
Yes, like the
Is
wedding
what it
ring
reminds
quilt.
me of. It's like an optical illusion kind of thing. That's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
so when you look at it, you see every time you look at it, you see like
Something
different
different.
stuff in it. It's really beautiful. She did an
Sort of
amazing
MC
job,
Escher-esque.
and that was all done with the like the string,
The
like
thread.
the
Crochet
thread.
cotton thread, the
Yeah,
mercerized stuff. Yeah. My mom, she's done a lot of, doilies like that. She loves the pineapple.
I had an aunt. That's all she would do is she would crochet the doilies or the
Hello,
tablecloths.
Tommy.
With the crochet thread.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the patience that it takes to build something up.
Well, the nice thing about
I couldn't do it.
the pineapple, though, is that for the most part, you're working into stitch spaces, not into actual stitches with the
stitches.
pineapple. So in that regard, it's not nearly as bad. Like if you had to go into each stitch, that could be a total nightmare. Like if you have to go into the actual stitches. But, if you're doing, like for instance, if it was like one big granny, with a really fine thread, not nearly that bad,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Still gonna be bad for
Jeanette,
me.
Jeanette says, Matt, I need to message you.
Okay, Jeanette, send me to my email. I've got my phone next to me. I can check it right now.
So what have you two been working on? If you can share. If you can't share, I respect that. But if you can, I would love to hear what you're working on.
I'm working on Snakes in the Garden, which I don't know what you want to call it. A stole, maybe? I'm not 100% sure until I get more onto it and I can show you and you can actually tell me what it is.
Okay, well, what
But
show me what you got. What you got? What you got?
Wow, that's
Okay.
pretty.
It's very pretty. But
I
so
like the
like the
colors.
overall shape though, the overall shape
it's
is
it's gonna come, you're gonna wear it like you would a wrap in a way, but it's gonna come, you wear it on your arm and it's gonna come up and then there's gonna be a head hole, a neck hole, whatever, and then go down the other arm. And this will be a little bit lightly sewn together, just a little bit, maybe like 6 inches,
okay, so that sounds more like a bolero.
whatever that is.
It's like a sort of like
I may be
a
a gay, but I'm not that kind of gay.
um no, it sounds sort of like a bolero, which is sort of like a short sweater slash vest slash poncho kind of thing. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, that's sort of it, well, because you said it had like armholes or like a head hole. So it's sort of like it's not quite a vest sweater, but it's like it goes through your aperture, like through your appendages, but it doesn't like cover you. So to me, I think that's sort of like a bolero.
Yeah, kind
Karen
of. I
H
just
says,
looked at
yeah,
it.
it
It's
sounds like
just
a shrug.
yeah, like a shrug
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Because
And
like when I think stole, I think you're wearing a dead animal. There's no other way of putting it if you're wearing a stole. It's like you're wearing roadkill. Um, like taxidermied roadkill. So I wouldn't go the route of stole, perhaps.
but yeah, it's using wait, how many lacy stitches? Oh my gosh. It would have had more if I could have got it to work up more, right? There's 1, 2, 3 different type of Tunisian lace stitches in this thing. And I had to do some altering to get them to mirror. And I got the whole pattern written out. And I have it on the tablet here so I can, when I'm hacking, because it's not one of those that you like, I can't memorize it. because it's a 10-row repeat. I'm like, no.
Well, is that the one that you were working on the other day? It was like
No.
that was the top down, and you were like, "Ah, I made a mistake," and then you
No,
do some drawing.
that's the Bethlehem baby blanket. Let me get it.
Okay.
It's right. It should be right here. One second.
Because I felt bad, like we were distracting you, and you made a boo boo, and then you're like, "Ah, nebs." Yeah, those colors. I saw the colors.
My fiber spider make. Yeah, it was this one.
Yes.
And
So
it came out.
pretty.
It came out today. So
yeah, I saw the notification.
And I mean, I still have like a Rwana. I still gotta finish. The panels are done. I just gotta, film putting it together. And then a little bit of tutorial for that.
And so, Matt, what are you working on?
Well, I mean, it's your pattern, but I'm referring to it as the bougie blanket.
The bougie blanket.
It's for my son.
Well, that's because the yarn is bougie. That's gorgeous. Nothing says love like merino.
Exactly. And
That is so tough stuffing.
He is the one that picked the colors.
Well, it is gorgeous.
Well, he picked one color, and I picked the other two colors to go with it.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, they go well together.
He picked the purple, the Wales Road.
That is very pretty, though.
As what he picked. And then I added the gray and the black to go with it.
It's very, very, very pretty.
And then I'm working on a C2C blanket for my one of my grandkids. I'm working on a C2C blanket for him. And then I've got the hats that I'm making, but that's on the Centro. And then I saw a couple of patterns that I wanna take a look at doing. But that's about it. Keeping it kind of simple, finishing up. I want to finish the blanket first, and then I've got I've got the shawl for my godmother that I need to finish.
The which?
The shawl for my godmother. I know it's around here somewhere.
Also, perhaps a fatuous question, but with the collections for the vets, would amigurumi be applicable or no for the kids?
I don't know. I know Jeanette's in the chat. Would amigurumis be acceptable, or you just want like wearable,
just putting it out there, because the more variety, the more takers you'll get. Oh, she says yes. That's cool. Because I'm sure that comfort does come in the form of warmth, but it also comes in the form of psychological comfort.
Yeah.
So whether it is an emotional support chicken or something along those lines, a thing is a thing is a thing, But
exactly.
If that's applicable, then great, because that way it gives even more wiggle room for things that we can do to help support. Now, so you have a goal of 4,000 hats. Do you have a goal of like X number of scarves or blankets as well, or?
Let's see. And she says that the children need comfort. So yes, on the.
Awesome.
So that's cool.
So do you have a number goal for other items? Because I know you said 4,000 hats, but do you have a number goal for like blankets?
All the information I got was for the hats.
Okay, well, I'm interested.
and all of everything else. I was told there was the 4,000 hats, but there wasn't like a set number for anything. I didn't hear of a set number for anything else.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jeanette, for giving additional information. Really appreciate it. Because if we can help, I think it's a great cause, and I think we should. If me shouting it out here helps, then woo, good stuffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep shouting it out on my channel.
Yeah, and I'll continue to do the same here.
That's something kind of near and dear, like as far as Rebecca and I, near and dear to our hearts.
Everybody has a cause. Sure.
Yeah. Well, y'all, like mine is dementia awareness, and I literally got a mess ton of purples in so I could do a dementia awareness something.
But Michael, I thought you forgot.
No. I got what your joke is. But
I'm sorry. It's my brand of humor.
I'm
sorry. I'm a unique blend of herbs, spices, and humor. It's questionable at best. I know.
Oh.
But we do what we do.
Oh yeah, everybody had, like you said, everybody picks a cause and and goes with it.
Sure.
And like that is a great cause for the veterans. As a veteran, you see a lot of homeless veterans or veterans that are in need, even if they're on the disability side, it's still the way the VA ranks disabilities is ridiculous. And it's moronic, and it makes no sense.
So it's your typical bureaucracy.
It's worse than that.
Paco, I know you want to come be up here.
I'm not Irma. I don't do blankets or anything. I just make stuff, and hopefully, people will make it for the dementia awareness month.
And Scott, I think I have them around somewhere. I'm sorry, my room is a disaster. I do plan on spring cleaning. They're around. No offense. No offense, but they're around. It's a bad scene in here right now. I know you can't see that way, but if you did, you'd probably
don't get me started like on this in here. I mean,
yeah.
Hey Tracy, it is a complete and utter mess.
I definitely need to do some serious spring cleaning.
Oh, I'm sure, and Tammy, I'm sure it is with the veterans up in Canada too. I'm sure it mirrors the same thing that we have.
And well, the neat thing though is that next month, Joan Crawford in the other room, she's going to be going on vacation to Ireland for 2 weeks. And out of that time, I'm going to take a week off from work, and I plan on really trying to make a dent in reclaiming my space somewhat. It's going to be...
She's going to go kiss the Blarney Stone?
Have you ever seen how people actually kiss the Blarney Stone? You're like way up high, and you have to like lean back, and somebody has to hold you from falling to your death. It looks crazy. And so what she said that she was going to do that, I'm like, have you seen what's involved? It's not just like this stone that's on the ground. Oh no, you're elevated.
It's like it's in the top of this castle.
Yeah,
is where it is, and you have to lean over backwards, and they like hold you to do it.
It's
crazy.
I don't think she's going to do that, but I'm a little bit jealous because I would love to go there and see, like the origins of like Fair Isle, and the whole like genuine, authentic Irish knit sweaters. Like I would love. Yes, yes. Michael did it too. Yes, I would love an authentic Irish knit sweater.
As
Cables would
long as
be
it's not
cool.
wool, I'm cool with that. I can
I'm
wear it
fine
then.
with wool.
But
You
I'm
know,
allergic, so.
well, I'm sorry, but I mean, like you know what? Wear something underneath it. Like I would love an authentic Irish knit sweater, but I mean, I'm sure that the price is way up there, but also I'm sure it's way worth it.
Well, and
You
I've
know,
also like, I don't know how I just designed my own little Fair Isle pattern. I don't know how I want to do it yet. If I wanted to do a sweater, or do I want it to be a cardigan, or do I want it to just be a cowl? I don't know yet, because I don't know how hard it's actually going to be for what I want to do.
if I may make a recommend, do a cowl.
Okay.
Because it's way easier. Now, I did a cowl once. This was years ago. My mom ended up getting it. And I believe it was 100-ish stitches. Now, are you knitting this?
Like, girl, you know I can't knit.
Girl, you know I gotta ask. I know what kind of woman you are. You got secrets.
I can crochet in Tunisian, and that's it.
Okay, well, it was in the round, and it was about 100 stitches. And the thing is, what I did was I loved this. I decided to go through sort of like a sampler of different Fair Isle stitches, patterns, if you will. And so I started off with, say, red and yellow as my contrasting colors. And then I dropped off the red, and then it was yellow and green, then like green and blue, and then blue and purple. So you had like all of these like meldings of colors, back to back. So it like they would shift, drop one, start a new one, drop one, start a new one. And so it was tube shaped, but it was double thick. So picture, you have your tube, and then you stuff half of it inside of itself, and then you seam it closed. So it was like
Okay.
a donut, and it was super thick, super warm, and you could turn it inside out and have a different pattern showing.
Oh.
So if you were in the mood for one kind of a pattern, great. Or if you were in the mood for another kind of a pattern, so you could like shift the patterns on itself, so that you could sort of change the look depending upon what you're going for. And because it's Fair Isle and it's stranded, you need it to be like there's a right side, and then there's like an icky stranded side. So that way it was all contained within itself. So you didn't have to worry about the flow strands getting hooked on anything. It was all self-contained.
I don't like, I never float strands. Especially, well, to me, I don't float strands.
But we all float down here.
What I call walking is I twist the one that I'm carrying around my working one. That way it hugs it and keeps it nice and tight against the project, and it won't get snugged. And then I can just switch them when I need them and just keep walking. And you don't see the color I'm walking, you see the color I want you to see until
Right.
And I found that to be a lot easier. It is time consuming because you're walking and you're having to twist a little bit slowly,
but it's worth
and
it.
whatnot. And it is so worth it for a clean, smooth back and no tails or ends and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's worth the extra effort if it means that your project isn't going to get snagged, on the opposite side. It's ultimately worth it.
I know,
but I would suggest doing a cowl.
That'd be a lot quicker too.
Yeah.
All things Tammy isn't Tunisian knitting or more crochet. It's literally a mix of both.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid.
Yeah. I played with it for a little bit, and it is very much so like a little bit of both.
I'm pretty sure I could pick up knitting it since I know how to Tunisian, but I got too much on my plate right now. I don't want to put more onto it.
Understood. I mean that's why I'm doing something really simple while we have the stream going on, because like I I don't know how you guys can do it. I can't. I can't just like sit and do one thing. I always have to multitask. My brain just won't allow it.
It's hard for me to not have something in my hands right now, but what I'm working on requires me to rereading what my pattern that I wrote. And let me pull it out. Not that way.
I was context.
I knew where you might. Let me get it off of that. Let me see what row I'm on for. Oh, go away. Well, where did you disappear to? Jesus. I'm trying to make it small enough so it can fit in this whole screen. Well, that's just part of it. So
Wow.
I can't. The red is just for me. It's numbers for me. But and it just keeps going and going. And I
Like
need to
the
be able to
Energizer
pay.
Bunny.
I need to be able to pay attention to it. And yeah.
Understood. See, like there's so many things that I want to watch on Netflix, or I just recently got Shudder. And there's so many movies on there that I want to watch, but I haven't seen them before. So it means that I can't do what I do while they're on because I'm going to be like, constantly looking up. So yeah, there's a lot I want to watch. You know what? Have you guys heard of the movie Skinamarink?
Yes.
I tried to get through that. I couldn't. I've got patience, but it was threadbare in no time. It's on Shudder, and it got a lot of talk about it. Some good, some not good. But in a nutshell, okay, it is a very grainy picture, movie. The quality of the film, it's like deliberately grainy, and there's like no dialogue. There's not much in the way of sound, and there's not much in the way of light. It's dark, it's quiet, and it's cryptic. I'm like, what am I watching? And so in a nutshell, you have two small children. They wake up in the middle of the night. They can't find their parents, and all of the doors and the windows are gone.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, the thing that strikes me as the most unusual is that the kids are unfazed. They're not freaking out. They're not screaming. They're not like, where's mommy? Where's daddy? Where are the doors? Where are the windows? No, they're like, where did the windows go?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. They just leave it off at that.
That's
So
good.
I think it's sort of like from the perspective of a child, yeah, it's terrifying. Like if you were a small child and you woke up in the middle of the night and your parents were gone and there were no
There's no
exits.
windows.
No windows. And eventually, as time progresses, yeah, the toilet also disappears and the phone doesn't work. And the only thing that they have to keep them company, if you will, VHS tapes of cartoons. And the TV is always on in the background. And because this took place in the like mid 90s. So this was like pre-DVD, pre-internet.
Yeah.
And so, they're having cereal and they hear like a bump upstairs and they go investigate, and it's really dark. So like the camera shots also really weird because you never actually see the kids in their entirety. Craig, do I have nightmares? Yes, but they're usually work related. It's like I'm at the library and I'm the only one there, and I've got a huge line, and the phone won't stop ringing, and like just it's more reality based. Like the movies I watch are a lot more fun. But like the camera angles in the movie, like you'll see like the corner of the door frame, and then you'll see like the door open or close, and that will be a shot for like 5 or 10 minutes. in the movie.
Oh, that would make me
But
crazy.
see, those type of things I can't watch because I'll be sitting there like this.
Yeah. I was like, okay, now I'm waiting for a jump scare. I'm waiting for something to
Exactly.
happen. And I
Well,
got
not a-
like, I want to say like an hour into it. And I'm like, nothing has happened yet. Now, I don't need jump scares. I don't need like blood and gore and freakery all in my face. No, I don't necessarily need that, but I needed some sort of engagement. I needed to be able to care about these kids, and I couldn't care about the kids because they were like
There
little
was nothing.
zombies, and not even in the fun way. They were just like, "Where's mommy?" Like, I'm supposed to care about you and your welfare? Now, there was
I
another movie on Netflix called Pihu. Now that, oh my God.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it wasn't a horror movie, but it was terrifying. So this movie called Pihu, Pihu, on Netflix. It might still be, I don't know. It's about, I want to say she's 3 or 4 years old. And it's basically, she is home alone for an entire day. And it's her trying to survive being home alone for an entire day by herself. And it's like anything that could possibly go wrong does. And it's not funny. Oh no. It's you're like, no, don't drink that. No, don't climb on that. No. It's like it's every worst nightmare of a parent. And I'm not a parent, you know. I mean, the only thing that I care for are dust bunnies. Um and you know, but so the thing is that the the father is away at work, has no idea what's going on, and the mother, she unalived.
Mm.
And so then you have the little girl who doesn't understand that her mom is not alive. You know, mom, wake up. Mom, wake up. Doesn't wake up, obviously. And so she tries to cook for herself. She
Oh my
almost sets a
gosh.
fire. You know, she's thirsty, so she, you know, inadvertently drinks like cleaning fluid. She is really hot, you know, and so she decides to crawl into the fridge and close the door. So she's trapped in a fridge at one point. Yes. And so you see, you know, you hear like this noise from inside of the fridge, and this like muffled banging sound and crying, and the fridge is jiggling, and the bottles on top of the fridge are jiggling, and she's in the fridge and she's trying to get out. She manages to get out. Okay. But the entire time you're like terrified that she's going to inadvertently not make it, and like you're like biting your nails, you know. And it I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it. It has a happy ending, but about as happy as it could be considering everything that goes on.
Mm.
Oh, Emma says, and you watched this, why? um
I was thinking the same thing. And you watch this? Why?
okay, didn't I say before with the English paper, piece, and quilt, I am a glutton for punishment, you know. That's why I work civil service. I'm a glutton for punishment, you see, you know. Um, you know, it
But
was a
I did the
nail
same
biter.
kind of no, 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 no. I was
See,
like,
Yes, I
I
have
don't get jump scares or anything. I
Dill. I
just
did
get
see
to where
Babadook.
I pay
Yes.
attention more to those types of movies than I do with what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll like watch a movie for like 45 minutes realizing I still have my crochet in my hand. I haven't done a stitch.
So Rachel, I have narrated some scary stories. I did do the yellow wallpaper and the monkey's paw, and I did a whole bunch of Edgar Allan Poe stories. And Dill, I did watch the Babadook, and I thought that it was a good movie, but the kid in that movie was so annoying. I wanted the Babadook to take him. Okay? The kid was so shrill and he was so annoying that I wanted the Babadook to just take him away.
I'll be right back. I gotta use the restroom.
Go right ahead. We'll hold the fort.
The one that got
Have
me.
you seen that, The Babadook?
The one that got me,
Oh,
like the same way. It's like no, 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 no. Was the boy in the striped pajamas?
oh, I know of that, and it's not a horror movie, but it's horrific. I haven't seen it. I
It's
know
like
of it though.
it's like partway through it, you're like, no, no, I know where this is going. No, 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 don't
Yeah,
go.
and Rachel, they are available. I have playlists. They're in there. But no, I know of the story. It's heart-wrenching, and that's probably why I haven't watched it.
It's
Um,
very heart wrenching.
you
It's
know, it's like,
very
yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm a glutton for punishment, but it's like some things, it's like, no, I already know it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to end well, you know.
No.
I mean, there are other movies where they're dark, but they're also like they're just as dark as they are funny. There was a great one. Mm, it's a French movie called Delicatessen. So good. It's so good. So it takes place in war-torn Europe. You don't know the exact time, but war-torn Europe, and you have an apartment building where the ground level is a delicatessen, and the residents, they all are in cahoots with each other with the butcher in the delicatessen, and every now and then the delicatessen owner, he hires a handyman, and they do some odd jobs, and then they never leave. Then the people of the building are fed. Yes.
Ooh.
And the most recent addition is he was a former clown in a circus, and he's totally oblivious to what's going on. And he does some odd jobs around the place, and they're basically like sizing him up, and they were like, they're hungry and they're sizing him up. And it's surprisingly, it is funny as all get out. It is Sweeney Toddish in a way, yeah. And it's really, really funny. There are parts of it that are kind of creepy. And if you like French movies, so good. It's really good. The same filmmaker also did Amelie, as well as The City of Lost Children. And it has Ron Perlman. Oh, wait,
I
no,
like
no, I'm sorry. No, Ron Perlman wasn't in that one. Ron Perlman was in The City of Lost Children with the same guy that plays the clown. The guy that plays the clown in City of Lost, no, the guy that
Ron
plays the
Perlman
clown
always
in
plays some really cool
Delicatessen.
parts.
Sorry?
I said Ron Perlman always plays some really cool parts.
Yeah, in The City of Lost Children, he plays a circus strongman named One. Uh, and that one also was really good. It's about, it's a really twisted story, The City of Lost Children. So you have a circus strongman who has a surrogate little brother who gets kidnapped by a bunch of cyclops, and then he enlists the aid of a little girl and a group of child thieves to help rescue him. And it's all over the place.
And I saw a movie. I thought of you the other day,
I hope favorably.
and I think you would enjoy it because you're into the vampire.
Careful.
I was watching I watched Nosferatu the other night.
Oh, I really want to watch that, but I don't feel like paying X amount of money to watch it.
And I thought of you when I was watching it, and you'd enjoy it.
I think I
It was
would.
good.
I mean, I've seen the original silent version. I've seen the 1979 version with, I think
William,
it was Klaus Kinski.
I'll just throw this out there. William Dafoe has a crazy part. I
Oh, I'm
mean,
sure. Does
it's really cool.
Does he play Renfield?
The doctor, yes.
No. Well, Van Helsing the Renfield was like Dracula's minion.
Oh, no. He is
But
like,
Dr. Van Helsing, so the guy who's like against Dracula.
yeah, but not. It
So
doesn't call him out as Van Helsing.
what is it called?
It's a different name. but the whole premise, it's different than a normal vampire. It's like the way the story goes, it's different than like the way we think of a vampire.
To answer Chris, City of Lost Children, is it related to Something Wicked This Way Comes? It's visually nightmarish, but not. They're very different stories. I mean,
Yeah.
with Something Wicked This Way Comes, it's basically careful what you wish for. You just might get it because yes, you're getting what you want, but at a price. You know, it's like yes, you're beautiful forever, but you can't see. You know, kind of thing. Whereas City of Lost Children, it's whimsical, but not so much of a fantasy, if you will. City of Lost Children, it's much more gritty. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it is on YouTube. I think. Don't quote me, but I think. But I'm sorry, Matt. You were saying about Nosferatu.
And there's a couple of parts in there that some of the lines, it's like, oh, they're like, oh, they went there. Oh, like there's some like little
Hi, Michael.
little twists.
Little zingers.
Yeah, well, it's not a zinger, but it's like, oh, dang. Like
Yeah.
like there's a,
We're just talking about the new Nosferatu movie.
I want to watch it. It's just I
It's
need to be able to
good.
pay attention, and so when I'm usually working up something I got to pay attention to, I just watch other stuff that I've seen 1,000 times.
Totally understood.
However, there's been a new show. I'm not a religious person, you know that, but on Amazon they've got the House of David. I like historical stuff, and because one, I like the costume designs. Plus, you just from the costume designs alone, you can get ideas for patterns.
Of course.
You know, so I've been watching that, and of course, The Wheel of Time.
You know, Wheel of Time. That was a book series, right?
Yes, Panda read them all, but he's like, you know, the TV series is is good if you've never read the books. I don't read books because I don't have the time. So I like the series.
You totally should.
Man, guys,
well, all right.
I'll read that.
Okay, Michael, if you were to read,
She said he'll be
Matt's
right back.
gone. Okay. Okay. If you were to read and Shameless is very twisted. Yes, Shameless is very, very twisted, Lene. I watched a number of seasons. It's a total dumpster fire.
And you know, like the first season of the US version and the UK version mirror each other.
Okay. I've only seen the US version, never the UK version.
But the UK version goes a totally different route after season 2 than the US version.
Interesting. But to finish my question, sorry, if you were to read a book, what genre would you be interested in? Because I want you to read something. I want to talk to you about a cool book. What genre would you be interested in?
I don't know. You know, I haven't read a book in 10 plus years, so I have no idea. And that actually longer than that. That's when I was back in college.
That's nails on a chalkboard. No.
I don't know. I just never been a reader. I mean, I can read. I mean, I'm educated, but I just don't like reading books. I just don't like it. And I don't like audiobooks either.
I was going to say, it's like, well, if you need to get stitching done at the same time, audiobooks are awesome for that. Historical fiction, horror, mystery.
I like historical stuff. And my historical stuff that I like is medieval and below. I don't like medieval and, to current or anything like from 1700 to current. I don't like it. It doesn't. In U.S. history, nothing against, of course, I'm an American veteran, whatever. U.S. history doesn't interest me. It's too young,
Hmm.
and I like the
Well, the thing about
older
U.S.
history.
history is that we have amalgamated and adopted a whole bunch of other cultures, and that is our culture.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take, you know, Europe, like some of those have traditions have been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. In
Yes.
Asia and in Africa, even longer, you
Hmm.
know. And us, we are new, and I'm not even
We're
like
newer to the
right.
game.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the United States as a country, we are the children. We are going through the terrible twos, right now, as far as our culture is concerned. Um, and so like we have like a little bit of this, and we have a little bit of that, and we have a little bit of the other, and like put it all together, and you have our culture, if you will. Whereas in other parts of the world, it's like, no, their traditions go back eons,
Eons.
literally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I have a more of an appreciation for other parts of the world because, yeah, I mean, they've done the same thing for a really long time. And it's like steeped in tradition and culture and so forth. So I understand what you're saying. Um,
Yes, it's the culture. It's just everything. The hierarchy. You name it. And also like, okay, you just take the old dynasty for example. That's 4,000 years ago. How did they think of, okay, well, if I did this, this will help the bone heal? Without modern medicine, the things that they built, the everything, it just astounds me, and it keeps my amazement and my attention a lot better. Just like Darth Mom said, ancient Rome and Greek history, where so much from the ancient Roman history has been lost, such as the concrete that they created that is still has structure standing today. 3,000 years later, it's still standing. Where we can't, and it was self-healing or self-repairing concrete, and where we can't even mimic that. Or Greek fire, it's gone.
Yeah.
Just so many different technologies or advancements that they made that is lost now. The true way to make Damascus steel is gone.
mhm.
you
Well,
know
if you're
and
interested in historical fiction, now this is time-wise a bit later than what you were just referencing, but there was a book that I would totally recommend. It was also a movie, which was so good. It's called Perfume: Story of a Murderer. So good. And I believe it takes place in, I want to say, maybe the 1600s in France.
okay.
So it's definitely historical fiction. Now, here's the build up. Okay. So you have this young man who is an orphan, and he has a very, very uncanny sense of smell. He can identify anything with his nose. And that's his world, sense of smell. And he's not blind, he's not deaf. No, it's just like his sense of smell is so acute. And eventually he wants to work with a perfumist so that he can learn how to preserve scent, specifically the scent of young women, because he wants to create an ultimate perfume. And he uses perfumes to manipulate people and get
Oh.
different emotions and actions out of them and so forth. And it is devilishly clever. It's sort of like Norman Bates meets the Avon lady, so you've got the story of a serial killer, but it's a historical fiction, but the whole angle of it is the sense of smell. And
Mm.
it was really good. The movie had Alan Rickman
Okay, I like Alan
and
Rickman.
Dustin Hoffman. And I mean, the casting, the cinematography, the music, the score was haunting. The
I
score was,
just pulled it up so that way I could watch it here
oh,
later.
so good. And the book goes into so much more intricacy and detail as to the method to his madness. It was really good. Would totally recommend it.
I think like a lot that like it really interests me about that like medieval history and below is my mother's side of the family had a lot to play with. I guess you could say Dark Ages English history, because one of my mother's ancestors saved Edward the Black Prince's banner, because you know if you lost your banner, you were done pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, in war, he saved the banner and got knighted and became a baron, rock savage. And then later on throughout time, that same family ended up marrying Prince Arthur to Catherine of Aragon. That same family member, because Prince Arthur died, married Prince Henry to Catherine of Aragon, who became Henry VIII. And
Wow.
I
Queen Catherine.
am.
So it's like, and they
Henry
had
VIII, I am. Henry VIII, I am.
so it's like my family or my mother's ancestors had play. You know, if he wasn't a cardinal and married them, how would history have taken a different turn?
Yeah, along the same thing, Mike, but different part of the UK. I have Scottish family that go way back,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently on my grandmother's side, one of her relatives, distant relatives, told Mary Queen of Scots to go pound salt.
But I can believe that too.
And they went to the castle where the family's castle, and Mary Queen of Scots wanted in, and one of my family told her to go
Kick rocks.
Take it someplace else.
I know, like Panda. The other thing too is like when I'm doing a lot of this historical, because I do a lot of historical research. We found like Panda's line. Oh gosh, it comes from an old Spanish kingdom. They were kings of I don't know how really to say this, but I think it's called Galicia.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a smaller kingdom above Portugal in Spain, you know, almost 1,000 years ago. And that's where his family comes from. Well, some of his family. Anyway, they were the rulers, and they actually have a province named after them.
That's cool.
But he's Puerto Rican.
Yeah, with our family, on my dad's side, we go to like the 1600s in the island where our family's from, and we're one of the first families that were on the island.
Mm.
And then on my mom's side, we have like Italian and European, other parts of Europe, and Italy in Sicily to the 1600s. And then with my grandmother, it goes back to like 1400s. It's like, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, wait, Columbus was floating around on the boats, and like,
Yeah,
you picture other history that these dates, and it's just like, it's amazing.
exactly. Like
It's
my uncle was able
amazing
to trace my mother's side to the year 980, and I'm like, how?
And Chris, no, I haven't heard of the Green Rider series, but it sounds interesting. I'm not familiar with it. I've heard of the Green Knight, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, but I haven't heard of the Green Riders. I remember when my dad, he was very big on history, and he was a history teacher. And apparently, I don't know the validity, but he said that apparently he can like trace, family members of ours back to like, the Mayflower kind of thing. Okay. And if I heard this correctly, as far as like how we're in a sense intertwined with history, my grandfather, he was big on restoring aircraft. He did work with the Smithsonian,
Wow.
and he worked on reparations of the Enola Gay.
Oh wow.
Not sure how I feel about that one, but
Well, I know the Smithsonian, they show the plate, the side plate where it says Enola Gay, but they won't restore the whole plane. And because of what it actually symbolizes. I mean, we're the only country that's dropped a nuclear weapon on somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm like. I have mixed feelings about that one.
They don't want to restore the whole plane.
Right.
So it's the Smithsonian has it, but they only show the nameplate on the.
Well, like now they're not showing the nameplate either.
Yeah, they're not even showing that no more.
Yeah, well, they used to show it, but
yeah.
Well, now for other reasons, because of the name of the plane, which actually I think it was the pilot's mother's name.
Yeah, I want to say it was like his mom or.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his mom's name, and so he named the plane after his mom. Life. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing tonight.
And like my dad's side, they were able we could trace it to where they came over, but there's a few famous or infamous Jefferson Davis.
Name sounds familiar.
Oh, he was a Confederate president.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
A Confederate
president.
Oh.
I said great grandfather.
I am not good with a lot of history. The majority of history I'm not great with.
When I started looking at this, I was like, yeah, we don't need to go down that. We don't need to go down that
side. We don't need to go down that side of the family.
Let's just prune off that branch of the family tree.
Yeah, I found.
Let's just serious black that branch.
I found out some of that on my grandmother. Most of it's through my grandmother's family tree. There was a lot of stuff. Like
there's some stuff you don't even want to talk about.
There's stuff. There's just stuff. Yeah.
But you also got to look at it too, though, is yes, that's your family, but you also need to take in and understand what they did, not why they did it, but understand what they did and never repeat it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the adage, learn from history, otherwise you're doomed to repeat it. Just because a family member of yours did X, Y, and Z doesn't mean that you are also doing X, Y, and Z. You are your own person.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're defined by your actions, not by your genetics.
Exactly. We're supposed to learn from history, but obviously we're not.
And I had a professor,
well, not everybody.
A history professor he told the class, when you're looking at history, you have to look at it not through our eyes of what we know now, but of their eyes of what was happening then.
And the ignorance and what they didn't know. They didn't
know, because we can look at it and go, what the heck were they thinking? What was that? And it's like, at the time, some of that stuff was the norm. I mean, we can't. It's not condoning anything that any of them did. It's just seeing it for that particular piece in time.
Right. Well, I mean,
think of what the people were thinking at that time.
A more contemporary take on that is just look at the series, The Little Rascals.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Just
because,
in our
you know, people
lifetime,
watching it
yes.
now, people watching the footage now with our current contextualization
Cringe.
cringe. But if you look at it from the perspective of somebody who was watching it when it was new back then, it was just like, okay, that's how things are. You know, so it's like you have to take certain things with a grain of salt. You know,
Mhm.
me, I look at it this way. The kids all got along regardless. You know,
Yeah.
they were friends with each other. They were from like different walks of life. You had the rich, rich, you had the poor, poor, you had the in-betweens, and they were friends. They worked together, you know, building, you know, fixing up the old barn to make a show. And, you know, they were friends with each other, you know, if you take out all of the extraneous connotations and slurs against, you know, ethnicities and sexes and races, and if you take all that out and you take out that context that we have now and take it at face value for what it was then, as kids playing with kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I try to focus on. You know, same thing with, I mean, I love Peter Sellers. I think it was a brilliant performer. Him as a person, I think, yeah, he was a rotten schmo. You know,
Yeah.
he was not a nice man. You know, he was abusive to, you know, his family, his friends, his coworkers. He was a lush. He was, you know, a narcissist, but he was really good at what he did. You
Mhm.
know, so it's like, you know, like separating the artist from his work,
Mhm.
or it's like if you take Robin Williams, you know, he was a funny man, but yes, as a person, he had issues, you know?
Oh yes. Well, and in today's world, I mean, you know, back when we were growing up, we didn't have what most of us are looking at right now, our
Yeah.
phones. We didn't have literally a computer in our hands.
Right,
A lot of houses didn't even have a computer,
right,
you know, so it wasn't in our face 24/7 when so and so did something wrong.
hmm
Now it's in our face because we have all this information so readily available. Now, some of it may be true, some of it may be false, and some of it may be a mix of both.
right.
And that has skewed a lot of people's perception, you know. So it's like technology has helped, but technology has hurt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, great example. I have been making water kefir and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. But you have a million people telling you that their version of how to make it is the right and proper way, and everybody else is wrong. And you have like 35 million people saying completely different things that their way is the only way to do it. So, yes, we've got tons of information,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do a lot of sifting and a lot of weeding.
Well, and that happens just in our work. Me and what me, you know, our crochet. You know, I've gotten told I hold my needle wrong several times. Well, how I hold there is no right or wrong way to hold a needle,
Yeah.
or or
As long as you
or
get to
calling it.
the
It's
point where
not
you
a
need to get
needle.
to, you're fine.
It's not a needle. It's a hook. It's a needle or a hook. I mean, have you tried these metal ones? You could stab somebody in the eyeball with it. So yes, they are a needle.
It's pain regardless of how you spell it.
And you know, so or you're wrong for choosing your whatever acrylic. You know, I've gotten those, and it's just like, okay, well, you know, you have your choices, I have my choices, and that's your opinion. Thank you for it. Everybody does it differently. There is no two ways. There is two ways to do it, but everybody is different. You know, well, you're both right-handed, so
Mhm.
let's
But
say,
my son's left-handed, so
you know,
I can relate to trying teaching him stuff, and it's reversed, like
mhm.
having to trying to show him stuff, and it's just like,
But everybody, the point I was trying to say is everybody's got an opinion on how to do something, and they think their opinion is right. And you know that your opinion may not fit some people.
Well, and then of course you have, well, I think I haven't run across this lately, but it's when people mistake crocheting for knitting or vice versa, and then I just have to explain to them real quick. It's not a big deal. Or when people classify all yarn, they call it wool. I'm like, wool can be made into yarn, but not all yarn is wool.
Well, and that's the
Yeah.
other thing I've come to accept too is when they call, Tunisian crochet, or knitting, all knitting, because a lot of the European countries, that's what they call, they only have one word for those crafts.
Yeah.
So when they say, "Oh, I love your knitting," I take into context, maybe they're not from my side of the world. Maybe they're from another side of the world where that's in their language, they only have that one word, which means knitting
Right.
for the craft.
Or if you're watching a crochet tutorial from the UK where they say double crochet, but they mean single crochet.
Yeah, the terminology.
I just have to smile and nod and be like, okay, I'm just gonna have to like mentally translate this for the rest of what I'm watching.
That's what
Okay.
I'm watching.
Ow, ow, ow.
Yes.
But I get through it. I understand,
Well, and that's the other thing. Why the terminology should be universal.
Well, but you know what though? You could also make the same argument that it should be like measurements should be universal. They're just not.
Well, and that's whenever I give measurements on anything I do, I always give it in imperial and what's the other one?
I mean, because there's metric.
Standard. Yeah, metric.
I mean, I do like inches and feet because that's what I grew up with. So
I give both. I give, inches, and I also give centimeters. And then when how much yarn I use, I give the yards, and I give the meters.
Yeah. So I just go based on what I grew up with. It was never milliliters and quarts. It was like, it's like, okay, we've got cups, we've got teaspoons, tablespoons, we've got yards, we've got feet, we've got inches. I just do what I was raised with, and it's it's Fahrenheit.
But see,
sorry, it's Fahrenheit.
Along with what you're talking about, Craig, is that we have so much information now, is that we should this is what I normally take a bit from here, a bit from there, choose the things that work for you, and then use those and go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything is going to work for everybody,
and for like tutorial basis, me or Craig may not be somebody's cup of tea. But we're somebody's. Everybody teaches differently. Everybody learns differently.
Mm-hmm.
So the more,
and that's what makes it an interesting place. We all have our own little. We have our little je ne sais quoi.
Yes, exactly.
Like for me, if I mess it up and I can fix it, that's how I learn. Unfortunately.
But no, they're Bob Ross. They're happy little accidents,
Exactly.
I don't. I try to think of it this way: if you learn something from the experience, it's not a mistake; it's a learning experience. That's how I look at it. If you learn something, then great. It was a win-win.
My grandfather used to always stress to me when I was growing up is learn whatever you can, learn anything you can, and store it away. Because you never know when you're going to use it.
Yeah, but my problem is that I become a fountain of useless information as a result.
And I did the same thing.
I'm the same way. If I see something, I'm like, oh, okay, well, how true is that? I actually get 2 hours later, I'm still researching. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this person's saying this person's saying this person's a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me delve into what's separating, and I just keep going deeper and deeper till I fully understand.
Yeah, I mean, I completely fell down the water Kefir rabbit hole. I was interested in it because it's a form of a fermented, a fermented drink that you can make that's like it's sort of like a naturally occurring soda. It's pretty cool. Because I mean, I've been working with sourdough, for over a year now. I'm like, I want to expand into other things. There's milk kefir or kefir, and then there's water kefir. And I'm like, well, water I can get out of my tap. Milk I have to go get at the store. So let me do the water kefir, and it's bubbly, and you can make different flavors. This is a lemon ginger water kefir that I've made, and I love it. And I get 4 of these bottles every 2 days that I can make, and I can just keep making it and making it, making it. And now the problem is that, like I said, everybody has a different solution of what is the proper way to do it. Some people are like, you should only put like a little itty bitty little dollop of molasses in to help with the mineral formation. Other people are like, no, you need to have like a whole tablespoon. So I'm trying to like find like a happy middle ground of what works. As long as it's fizzy and it tastes good, great.
So what works for you?
And the thing is that this is supposed to be like really good for your gut health and your probiotics and your your immune system and all that. That's not why I'm drinking it. It's homemade soda. That's why I'm drinking it. It's fizzy. It tastes good. I can make it myself. It's fizzy. It's not caffeinated. Can't all be perfect. But I can make it myself, and it's easy. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's fun. Sometimes I'll do like apple juice, or I'll do my ginger lemon simple syrup. I also made a black currant tea simple syrup, which came out really nice. I've used Juicy Juice fruit punch, and you add that to the second fermentation to give it some fizz and some flavor. And fortunately, none of my bottles have exploded.
Hey,
big bonus.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Because I burp my bottles daily just so I can avoid having that, as be an issue. Is it cost effective? Well, you have to buy the bottles. You have to buy the sugar. You have to buy the juice. You have to buy the molasses. But I don't know how cost effective it is, but it's really gratifying.
Yes.
It's like anything you do. You have to get once you get all the stuff.
And I'm not going to start making my own wine. I don't drink. I drink caffeine, but I don't drink alcohol. And this is not even caffeinated. But no, and even though this is fermented, there's no alcohol fermentation involved with it. So
it didn't ferment long enough.
No. I mean, you're not letting it ferment for like weeks or whatever. No, it's just the second fermentation. It's only like 24 hours, and then you pop it in the fridge, and then the fermentation slows down to a minimal crawl, and so you don't have to worry about it continuing to ferment. No, I'm enjoying it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. And then as time goes on, the kefir grains that ferment the liquid, they grow, and they split off, and then they grow, and then they split off, and then they grow, and they multiply like little gremlins. And so you can take those and you can actually dry them out and save them for later, like little beads of amber. Or you can give them to somebody else and then have them grow them. World domination. And it's fun. It's another thing for me to experiment with, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. As far as cost effective, I don't know, but also I'm not drinking like all this high fructose corn syrup and artificial colors and flavors and all sorts of things. It's just, I'm just doing my thing,
Yeah.
And I rather like it. And I don't know, it's a fun little thing for me to try. Oh, and so because, well, people don't usually name their kefir grains. I mean, I named my sourdough starter Edgar Allan Doe. The kefir grains, I named them Kingsley. And The reason why is because there was a book written by Charles Kingsley back in the 1800s, and it was called The Water Babies.
Oh.
Ah,
And so I've been calling my Kefir grains Kingsley. And well, the book is basically sort of like a moralistic story about a young boy who's a chimney sweep who's abused by his overseer, and so he runs away and he ends up living in the ocean as basically a water sprite, a water fairy, and it's sort of like fable, learning moralistic lesson type stuffs, and I just thought, let's call it Kingsley. It has a dignified ring to it. So yes, I've got Kingsley and Edgar.
looking in the chat, a
Yes,
lot of people's families make a lot more like
I'm not making no moonshine.
alcoholic.
Well, good for them.
beverages.
No, to each their own. Me personally, no, I don't drink, but if
My
you want to have fun, I don't.
my dad, they make this stuff. It's called anish, and it's like licorice, but
Okay. Oh, you mean like anise?
it's like ouzo is what it's like Portuguese ouzo. And so my dad would grow the bushes in the back of the house, and his friend would make it and give him a couple of bottles. And then he had another friend that made like wine, like homemade, like Portuguese wine, and they would trade for they would just trade. Like we always had like homemade
That's cool.
stuff, like
Excuse me.
and it's crazy because most of that stuff would put you on your face and give you a heck of a headache.
Or make you go blind for a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, it just
Well, eventually I would like to do a tutorial on the water kefir. I just wanted to iron out any potential kinks, and I've only been doing it now for about 2 weeks. Technically, if you keep the grains healthy, you can do it indefinitely, for years and years and years, just like the sourdough. But I wanted to really get more fluent and more experience under my belt first. I would like to, though, definitely, because it's not difficult and the upkeep is very simple. Once you get into the rhythm and the groove of it, it's not that difficult. It's like feeding like every 2 days, and then bottling and consuming like every 2 days. Sorry, like the fermentation in total. Let's see. First fermentation is about 2 days. Second fermentation is about 1 day. But I always have like a couple of bottles. Like I've got this one here, and I've got 3 more in the fridge. And then I've got my first fermentation still doing, which should be ready tomorrow. And then I can feed them again and end up with 4 more bottles. So it's like this perpetual hamster wheel cycle going on. It's fun.
So have you thought about doing the kombucha?
No, at least
No.
not right now. I mean, it's in the same family as kombucha as far as, you've got like a mother SCOBY. Is it SCOBA? SCOBY? I think it's SCOBY. So similar, in that regard, but I've heard that the kombucha, it's a lot more acidic. And also you have to keep it at a much more specific temperature. And as far as that, I'm not allowed to control what temperature it is in the house. I have to go based on whatever it is. Fortunately, the kefir grains and the sourdough, they do just fine based on the temperature in the house as it is. But I think it has to be like in a very specific range with kombucha in order for it to proliferate and do what it's supposed to do. But I'm just, wonder if can use a sugar substitute. If you mean a sugar substitute for the water kefir, no. You wouldn't be able to use like a stevia or something like that. It has to be like actual sugar. And I've been using organic, pure sugar cane. It's sort of like a very, very light brown. If you use like regular processed granulated sugar, the kefir doesn't like it as much. but I've been using just like regular sugar. Now the thing is that the water kefir, it metabolizes and eats most of the sugar that's in the water, and it makes the water taste a little bit tart, a little bit tangy. So it's not as high in sugar as you would think, as far as the caloric intake, because a lot of that sugar actually gets broken down by the metabolizing of the kefir grains. Learn French with Duolingo. Just started. Teresa, yes, I'm still doing Duolingo, and I'm also trying to do a little bit of Spanish as well. Un poquito hablo español, you know, or je parle français un peu, you know.
Un peu.
Yes, un peu, not poo poo poo. You know. that would be merde. Oh, merci beaucoup. But anywho, it's hard to believe it's been two
and a
hours and
quarter.
15 minutes. My
Wow.
goodness. Oh, yeah. Well, Teresa, yeah, you can do Spanish, you can do French. They've got a million languages on there. If you don't mind ads, it's totally free. I do like the paid version, so I don't have to deal with ads, and I don't have to like keep like replenishing hearts if I make a mistake.
Yeah.
So I go with the paid version. There's also like the super duper pro version. I don't have that. It's just like the regular no frills, paid version is what I got. And it's been well over a year. I haven't missed a day. I've been very good about that. It's a work in progress. Do I ever think I'm going to end up using it? No, but it's a work in progress.
Everything else you do, you keep up with Duolingo?
I do Duolingo, yeah.
No, I mean you keep up with it with everything else you do.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't missed one day.
He does.
Dang.
I don't know. I think it was Duolingo. I did it. I was doing Spanish, and I think that lasted a month. Doing it every day before I started having to skip because I was getting busy with the channel. And then it turned into, well, I haven't touched it in 3 months. Well, it looks like I need to cancel it.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, but yeah, every day I haven't missed a day, and I've stayed in the Diamond League. Since I got in the Diamond League, I've stayed in the Diamond League. And I haven't fallen out of the Diamond League since I got in. I've been very good about that. Sometimes it's a little trickier than others, but I've maintained my streak. I've been very good about that. Yeah, kombucha is more like vinegar, according to Nana. The water kefir, I mean, it definitely has a tartness to it. I wouldn't say it's yeasty. It does got a bubble to it, not as bubbly as like commercially prepared soda per se, but it does have some bubble to it. I rather enjoy it, and making the lemon ginger simple syrup, it's very easy. I use fresh ginger, lemon juice, sugar, water, bring it up to a boil, down to a simmer, boom, you got yourself some syrup. It's not difficult. Teresa says water. Okay. Lou.
Clean and reuse
yeah, you should be able. Yeah, you can clean and reuse those.
Yes, you can totally reuse the bottles. And the thing is that these are actually dishwasher safe. You can pop off these little metal bits with the stoppers, and these I've reused countless times. I just wash these by hand, but these you are going to need these with the stoppers on them if you want to do it, because you need to be able to have something that holds in the pressure, and these are really thick, durable, pressure resistant glass. Like, you don't want to use mason jars. No. Yeah, you can totally clean and reuse these. And if I couldn't, I wouldn't have gotten them. But I got like about a half a dozen of these off of Amazon for like $20. And I've used them a bunch. Yeah, no, not bad at all.
That bottle. It reminds.
Was that Tony?
Of my younger days when I was there was
it was
a beer
great.
that used to come in bottles like that.
Game.
Yeah,
With
the bottles, yeah, it's a tool. You reuse it, you know. I mean, the most expensive thing I think I use is the pure cane sugar. You know, that's the most expensive thing that I get. He got killed by a laser monster. That's okay, Panda. We love you. It's okay.
he gets into it and he's going to throw out his back, screaming, and then
It's quite all right. I understand. The other day I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 and I was fighting against it was half human, half spider. It was like the waist up was a human, the waist down was a spider, and it was terrifying. Um, and he was playing Repo. What was that? Repo with Brother and a Buddy. That's okay, Panda. Not a problem whatsoever. Um, but yeah, I was fighting this like human spider thing, and it was terrifying. But the cool thing though is that it this creature had it was a lantern called a moon lantern, and then after I killed the human spider person, the lantern was like, "Help me! Help me!" There was a little fairy trapped inside, a little pixie with a very bad attitude. And so I released the pixie, and she blessed our whole party, and we were all safe from the shadows after that. It was like, ooh, I did a good deed. I got something cool out of it. It was fun stuff. It's a great game. You know, Tony's got to play it one of these days. Tony has got to play that game.
he will. He's been busy catching up with my doing my patterns that we come up with. He's been writing most of them and then actually doing them. He's just been doing them. I don't know.
When you write them, Mike, are you writing them in Illustrator? Like,
No. See, most of mine don't have diagrams because it's some of these stitches you just really there is no diagram for it. You know, like the baby blanket that I just did, that is easy to diagram out, and I use just Stitch Fiddle for that. But like if it's, you know, with the simple stitch and with the extra long Tunisian front post double crochets or stuff like that, there is no diagram for that. There is for simple stitch, but like certain stitches, a lot of different stitches, there isn't. So it's just better to just type it out in words.
However it works for you.
But if I could do it in a diagram, I'm going to have the diagram and the written form together. There's not a lot of symbols for Tunisian, unlike crochet.
No,
yeah, like when I do
watching Mikey do it in Illustrator was cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of fascinating.
There's so many that you could do. Like with crochet, has so many different types of symbols. Tunisian, not really. We don't have a lot of symbols, and I'm not going to sit there and invent symbols because I don't have that time.
Sure you do. You just have 35 million other things to do, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's all
maybe
good.
one day. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
But, there's really not a lot of symbols. You could
create your own system. You could do it. If anybody could do it, you could do it. I'm sure you could. You know, you could create a universal Tunisian system. Hello, Benji.
And I know Michael to like Star Trek, so I was trying to throw in a Star Trek, thing the other day and give him and I'm sure he was laughing I saw
Michael that. Yeah,
laughing his tail off.
I mean,
well, you're the Spock of Tunisian, and I'm more of a Whovian crocheter.
Well, see, I'm thinking Yoda, and I'm like, no, that's Star Wars. Who's like Yoda? Spock.
Smart I am. But I have
right, so I think we're going to call it an evening. You have a Star Trek tattoo?
Right here.
Is it the little
Is it the
Like the Enterprise emblem? Oh, yep, there it is. There you
that's
go.
cool.
That's as much as y'all gonna get to see. You have to pay
So,
for
yeah.
more.
Yeah, so I think we're good to call it an evening. But listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. And all of you out there in YouTube land, want to thank you for joining me as well. It's been a fun little hoot. Didn't do it the last Friday that I had available off because I was feeling like I need a night off. So it didn't happen. But, I'm like, you know what? I want to do it tonight because conversely, I wasn't in the mood to do a video for yesterday, Thursday. So I'm like, you know what? We'll just do the live. That'll be my second video for the week. And I'm so glad that I could have you both on tonight. Thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you for inviting.
Oh, thank you. It's always a blast coming on with you guys.
I
It
appreciate it.
is.
So everybody,
I always learn stuff.
check out
It's
their
really cool.
channels. We've got Matt, the Rockin' Crocheter, and we've got MDL Crochet with Michael. And of course, our lovely Panda, Pandemonium Express, screaming in the background. We love you, Panda. And also we had Spring earlier. And thank you guys so much for joining. And everybody out there, thank you so much for joining. Love you guys. And you know the slogan, right? Until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, stay safe, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will all see you in the next video. Bye for now, everybody. You have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
day.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.